Have you ever wondered how the things that once gave us comfort and joy can sometimes shift as we age? What we once found fulfilling may no longer serve us the same way, especially when it comes to our emotional and physical needs. Today, we're going to talk about something that may feel a bit uncomfortable, but I believe it's important to discuss openly: masturbation in old age. Now, I know this isn't a topic many older folks bring up, especially not in the warm, heartfelt way I want to share with you today. But trust me, it's crucial to understand how changes in our bodies and minds affect how we experience pleasure as we grow older. I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll gain new insight into how our needs evolve and how we can prioritize emotional connection over fleeting physical sensations. Why watch until the end? First, I'll explain how excessive masturbation in later years can actually lead to more anxiety and emotional emptiness, rather than the satisfaction we may expect. It's important to understand how our bodies change, and how what once brought us relief can sometimes contribute to physical and emotional exhaustion. But that's not all. I want to share with you a very personal story of a friend in her 70s who, like many of us, found herself trying to fill an emotional void with self-stimulation. Her journey taught her a powerful lesson that I want to pass on to you. Together, we'll dive into why, as we age, it's the emotional connections, like a warm hug from a loved one or a heartfelt conversation with a friend, that truly bring us peace. If you're enjoying these talks and want to see more, I kindly ask that you give this video a like and subscribe to the Sabia Vejas channel. The algorithm has not been too kind lately, and your support helps us reach more people who can benefit from these discussions. Let's dive in, and remember, this conversation comes from a place of love and wisdom that I hope will help you as you move through the beautiful journey of aging. If you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, I encourage you to click the subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated on all our latest content. I'm eager to hear your thoughts on today's topic. If you enjoy the content, please comment 1 below. If it doesn't resonate with you, leave a 0. Your feedback is crucial as it helps me create better videos that align with your interests. Now, let's get started. Dear grandsons and granddaughters, I want us to sit down today and talk about a delicate but important topic, especially as we reach old age: masturbation. I know that many of you may not have heard an older person talk about this, and even less with such affection and sincerity. But before we begin, I ask you from the heart that if you are enjoying these conversations, please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to more people. Lately, the algorithm hasn't been very generous with our content. And don't forget to subscribe to the Sabia Vejas channel, where we share experiences, advice, and wisdom that I hope will be helpful in your lives. Now, let's get to the reason we're here today. Many of you may think that masturbation is something completely natural. In adulthood, it can be a way to understand our bodies, our emotions, and relieve tension. But what happens as we age? In old age, our bodies and needs change, and what was once a common practice can become something that doesn't always do us well. I want you to understand that I'm not here to judge anyone. My words come from love and experience. We know that in our youth, desire can be strong, and our energy seems endless. But as we age, the body changes, priorities change, and so does the way we understand and experience intimacy. Various psychological studies indicate that excessive masturbation in older age can create more anxiety than we realize. That feeling of emptiness, of not being completely satisfied, can intensify as we age. The reason is that the body no longer responds the same way as when we were younger. Physiologically, the hormonal system slows down, and the pleasure we once felt is no longer as easy to reach. There are even medical studies that have linked frequent masturbation in old age to physical and mental exhaustion. Contrary to what some may think, the body doesn't recover as quickly. And that energy we're investing right now could be better channeled into other activities that provide long-term well-being, like meditation, light exercise, or creative activities. Now, let me share a reflection based on life itself. A few years ago, I had a very deep conversation with a childhood friend. We were both in our 70s. She confessed to me that over time, She had become more dependent on self-stimulation because she felt it was the only way to fill certain emotional voids left by the loss of her husband. In her mind, she believed it kept her connected to her sexuality. But over time, she noticed that every time she did it, she felt more alone and empty. She couldn't find the emotional comfort she was seeking. In the end, she realized that she was trying to fill an emotional void with a physical action. Through this conversation, we both understood that, in old age, what we long for most is emotional connection, closeness, and genuine affection. Self-stimulation, when it becomes a repetitive habit, can distance us from the search for meaningful relationships. We become more focused on ourselves and less open to sharing our emotions and affection with others. Old age is a time when we must learn to let go, to understand that pleasure is not always physical but emotional. It lies in the deep connections we create with other human beings, in conversations, and shared moments. Also, many medical specialists warn that excessive masturbation in later years can contribute to social isolation. The pleasure we seek individually can lead to a disconnect from our surroundings. Instead of enjoying the company of friends, family, or a partner, we fall into a solitary routine. This not only affects mental health, but also emotional health. Loneliness in old age is a silent affliction that we must combat with all our strength. Falling into solitary habits can deepen that feeling of isolation. What I propose, my dear ones, is not that we avoid getting to know ourselves or ignore our needs. On the contrary, I encourage you to rediscover yourselves at this stage of life. But do it from a broader perspective, where emotional well-being holds more weight than fleeting physical sensations. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Ask yourselves, what am I really seeking when I'm alone? What do I need at this moment in my life? Is it the company of someone I love? A deep conversation? Or perhaps the inner peace I long for? Remember, as we age, our relationship with pleasure must also evolve. Physical contact and intimacy don't always have to be at the forefront of our minds. Sometimes, the hug of a child, a chat with an old friend, or simply sitting in silence at sunset can bring us more peace and satisfaction than anything else. In summary, grandchildren, what I want to convey today is that, in old age, the most important thing is to take care of our emotional and physical well-being in a balanced way. Let's avoid falling into patterns that disconnect us from others and make us feel more alone. Let's seek activities that nourish our spirit and keep us connected with those around us. Life is more than just physical pleasure, especially when we reach this stage of maturity. And before I say goodbye, I invite you again to like this video if you feel this conversation has been helpful. Also, don't forget to subscribe to Sabia Veges, where we continue sharing talks full of love, experience, and wisdom. I'll see you in the next chat. In the end, she realized that she was trying to fill an emotional void with a physical action. Through this conversation, we both understood that, as we grow older, what we long for most is not just physical pleasure, but emotional connection, closeness, and genuine affection. Over time, the need for emotional fulfillment becomes even more pronounced. In our youth, the excitement of physical pleasure and the rush of emotions might have been enough to satisfy us, but as we age, we often find ourselves yearning for something deeper. Self-stimulation, when it becomes a repetitive habit, can distance us from the very thing we desire most, meaningful relationships. It becomes easy to fall into patterns of self-focus, where we are more concerned with our own needs and less open to sharing our emotions and affection with others. This can lead to a cycle of isolation, where the desire for connection is met only with temporary, fleeting experiences that don't truly nourish us. Old age is a time when we must learn to let go of old habits and embrace new perspectives. It's important to recognize that pleasure is not always physical but can be deeply emotional. It lies in the connections we form with other human beings, in the moments of genuine interaction, and in the shared experiences that make us feel truly alive. The joy of a simple conversation with a loved one, or the warmth of holding hands with a partner, can provide more comfort and satisfaction than any physical action alone. As we age, our bodies change, and so do our needs. While physical intimacy may have once been at the forefront of our minds, it is important to acknowledge that it does not define our worth or happiness. Many specialists emphasize that excessive masturbation in later years can lead to a deeper sense of loneliness and isolation. The pleasure we seek individually can sometimes create a disconnect from the world around us. Instead of enjoying the company of friends, family, or a partner, we may inadvertently fall into a solitary routine, which can gradually erode our sense of connection and joy. This loneliness can affect our mental health just as much as our emotional well-being. Loneliness in old age is not something that always comes with obvious signs. It's a quiet companion that creeps in unnoticed, often in moments of stillness or when we're left to our own thoughts. Over time, it can grow stronger, making us feel more and more detached from the people in the world around us. That's why it's crucial to combat this loneliness by seeking out meaningful connections. The truth is, falling into solitary habits and patterns only deepens the feeling of isolation. Instead of retreating inward, we should aim to open ourselves up to the people around us and focus on nurturing relationships that bring us joy and fulfillment. My dear ones, it's not about avoiding self-exploration or ignoring our own needs. Quite the opposite. I encourage you to rediscover yourselves at this stage of life. This is an opportunity to connect with the parts of you that may have been neglected over the years. However, it's important to do this from a broader perspective, where emotional well-being and connection with others hold more weight than temporary physical pleasures. Ask yourselves, what am I really seeking when I'm alone? What am I trying to fill when I feel lonely? What do I truly need at this moment in my life? Is it the company of someone I love? A deep conversation? Or perhaps the peace and comfort that only solitude can bring? These are important questions to reflect on as we move through this stage of life. And remember, as we age, our relationship with pleasure must evolve too. We no longer need to rely on the same sources of pleasure that once seemed so important. Our needs become more refined, and often, it's the quiet moments that bring the most joy. Physical contact and intimacy don't always have to be at the forefront of our minds. Sometimes, a simple hug from a child, an evening spent chatting with an old friend, or even the stillness of sitting in silence during a beautiful sunset can bring us more peace and satisfaction than anything else. It's in these moments of connection, emotional, spiritual, and physical, that we find true happiness in old age. In summary, my dear grandchildren, what I want to convey today is that, as we grow older, the most important thing is to take care of our emotional and physical well-being in a balanced and thoughtful way. Life is not about seeking fleeting pleasures or losing ourselves in self-centered habits. Let's avoid falling into patterns that disconnect us from others and, ultimately, leave us feeling more alone. Let's seek activities that nourish our spirit, keep us connected to those around us, and help us grow in new ways. Life in old age can be full of beauty, but it requires effort, openness, and a willingness to embrace what truly brings us joy. Life is more than just physical pleasure, especially as we reach this stage of maturity. The most profound forms of happiness come from emotional fulfillment, genuine human connection, and the ability to share our wisdom and love with others. So, my dear grandsons and granddaughters, what have we learned today? We've explored how our relationship with pleasure shifts as we age, and how it's so important to balance our physical needs with our emotional well-being. From the story of my dear friend to understanding how self-stimulation can sometimes create more loneliness than connection, we've come to realize that true fulfillment lies in the deep emotional bonds we form with others. Now, I'd love to hear from you. What's one thing you've learned today that you're going to put into practice in your own life? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. I'm so eager to hear how this conversation has touched you. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe to the Sabia Vejes channel. Your support helps us bring more valuable conversations like this to people who need it. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care and remember, life is more than just the physical. It's about the connections we make and the love we share.